following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the MSP North podcast. It is October 13th. Apologies for the late start. We were sorting through some technical difficulties. I'm Brady McTemney. That's Blaine Keller. Blaine, start us off, as always, with the weather report.
Absolutely beautiful day today. I believe it's in the 60s right now. A nice, good amount of sunshine. Leaves are falling. It feels like fall, and next week it will too after some showers yesterday, a couple of tornado watches in Middle Tennessee and Nashville especially. I feel pretty good about the weather going into this next week.
Sweater weather for the rest of football season. We're going to obviously start us off with another great interview that we're very excited about today as we welcome in Greenbrier John Elmore. John, how are you today?
Yeah, we've got 1 second before John comes in here. They've got a pretty exciting game coming up. The Bobcats do against Pearl Cone, a high region impact game, and we're going to welcome him in right now. Coach Elmore, how are we?
Doing very well today. How you guys doing?
Doing good. It's a bit of an interesting one for you guys going into this week's Region 5-4A contest at home against Pearl Cone, especially looking at last week's game on the road at Creekwood. 36 total points in that one, a 30-6 loss, but only 2 offensive touchdowns by both teams. Coach, this felt like a pretty weird game. Can you kind of talk about that one and what your team kind of learned?
Well, yeah, it definitely was a strange game. We kicked off to Creekwood and actually on the first play from scrimmage intercepted it. Travarius Flood did and ran it back for a score. So, just a few seconds into the game, we're up 6-0. And then both offenses are, they did a great job defensively against us, really held us in check, running and throwing. And our defense did a really good job. But their first score, ironically, was an interception as well. Ran it back for a score. Then their second score was a block punt for a touchdown. So it was, like I said, it was, the first 3 touchdowns, and not a single one of them was an offensive touchdown. And then they scored a couple of times later in the game, to put it away for them. So it was one of those that was, it was a defensive. Both teams played well defensively. But they did a better job at it than we did. So,
yeah, you're listening to the MSP North podcast presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. We're here with John Elmore, head coach at the Greenbrier football team. John, there's been a little bit of inconsistency for you guys. You've had a couple of dominant wins. Looking at Glencliff, Lawrence County, Hillwood, Montgomery Central, and then, of course, losing to Creekwood. How do you think you guys might be able to find that balance, maybe play a little bit more consistently great football, as we've seen that you guys are capable of doing?
Yeah, more consistency on offense. Our defense, like I said, even, in the Creekwood game the other night, played very well. We gave up, like I said, 2 offensive touchdowns. And then in the Central game, we gave up 1 score, and the other games we did really well. So I still go back to just our consistency on offense, especially running the ball. We've got to, get a little more yardage with that, and which sets up our passing game as well.
You guys had a lot of success in that region slate that Brady kind of mentioned there. Wins over Glencliff 47-13, Lawrence County 22-0, Hillwood 47-2, and then Montgomery Central 20-7. Creekwood was your first loss in region this year, and obviously you guys don't want to go back-to-back there, and hung with Pearl last year up until the fourth quarter. Talk about the importance of this game against the Firebirds, especially when trying to get maybe that top 2 seed in 5-4A.
Well, that's just it. It's at this point of the season, really, truly, every game is a playoff game because we still need another win. I think to be able to get into the playoffs. So this one is huge from that point. Of course, Pearl Cone comes in. Their only 2 losses are Cane Ridge and NBA. Well, that's 2 exceptional football teams, and so it is a huge challenge for us because Pearl Cone, they have excellent football players, quarterback, receivers, running backs, but they're their line has done a great job, and now, of course, they're very well coached. So we're going to have to play our best game, and just keep the mistakes, to as few as possible.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it there, Coach. Closing out the season with a lot of games that are super important. Tullahoma, the reigning Class 4A champions, they're not as good as they were last year, but it seems like they're kind of finding their footing a little bit in that region. Marshall County, of course, hung really tough with Pearl-Cohn last week in the fourth quarter. How important, what do you guys need to kind of see from the team in the last couple of weeks in order to kind of lock up that playoff spot? And it would be your first since 2017.
Just our defense has got to keep playing as well as it has been, and we need to create some turnovers on defense. But then, offensively, we got to drive the ball, whether it's by running, by throwing, combination too, and score points, get in the end zone. That's the main thing. And of course, special teams, it's such an important part because, like I said last, we had the block punt for a touchdown, and so those things we've got to clean up as well.
Absolutely. Coach, we thank you so much for your time. And Brady, we'll see you out there on Friday at Greenbrier. It should be a really fun and exciting game. Best of luck on Friday, and we can't wait to see how that one plays out.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. And we're excited about it because I've known Coach Bernetti for a long time. Our sons played junior pro football about the same time. And so I've known Tony for several years now.
There you go. A little Fred there for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, John. I will see you tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate you guys.
We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we've got a awesome interview coming up with Brian Reeves, voice of the Governors here in Montgomery County. You won't want to miss it. Stick around.
We are back on the MSP North podcast. Blaine Keller here with Brady McAtamney, hoping to get the voice of the Governors, Brian Reeves, here in a second. Brady, we've got a fun one for him, and I believe Brian is in now. Brian, can you hear us?
I can. Good morning.
Hey, and how are you doing today?
So far, so good, guys. Getting ready for a big rivalry weekend with Murray State coming to town to take on the Govs.
Oh my gosh, we can hardly wait. You guys have been. This has been a good rivalry for a while. This is a question Blaine had on here, so I'm going to snag his question. But the Austin Peay Murray State rivalry. I mean, this has been a fun one in the area for a long time. What's been the best part of covering this rivalry?
The best part is just the competitiveness. It's one that as soon as the schedule comes out, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, softball, I don't care if we were playing checkers in the park. They're going to circle Murray State Austin Peay. And it's just one of those things where, for the longest time, we were in competition for the same players. With the location that we are, with the lack of distance between the two schools, you met a lot on the recruiting trail, and you won and lost some recruiting battles. And then for the longest time, it was a basketball-based rivalry. It was Austin Peay on top of the Ohio Valley. It was Murray State on top of the Ohio Valley. Each one wanted to beat big brother, so to speak. So just to see what gets circled. Every team has that one rival, no matter how good or how bad. And in this case, going into a winless Murray on Saturday on the football field, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be circled. It's still going to mean a little extra. You always joke, or you always hear coaches joke, they want to win their first game, they want to win their last game, they want to win a homecoming. Well, in this case, you want to win your first game, you want to win your last game, and at Austin Peay, you want to beat Murray.
Obviously a big matchup here on Saturday at Forterra Stadium between Austin Peay and Murray State. Brian, I kind of wanted to get your opinion on this, knowing that both of these teams are kind of on their way out of the OVC. Of course, Austin Peay playing in its first season in ASUN competition, Murray State an affiliate member for football this year before joining the Missouri Valley. How neat is it to kind of see, at least for 1 year and however much longer, see this rivalry going?
Oh, I think it'll go for a while. I think on the basketball court, you'll definitely see these two meet up at least once a year as non-conference rivals. And I think football may be a little different with the way Murray jumps into that different league and the way they kind of structure their league. But on baseball, even on baseball, if it's not a weekend conference series, it'll be a midweek Tuesday, Wednesday game. Because of the proximity, it's so close, it makes sense to keep those teams together. But you're right. It's going to lose a little bit with it not being in the same conference. But just because of the history, just because there's so many folks around this area that are, my age, older than you two, and a little older, it's always going to mean a little more. Now, with that being said, getting into the ASUN play, that it may stay Murray. It may become Lipscomb because they're so close to us and going to be an ASUN cohort with us. It may be someone else down the road, the way the ASUN looks to be so fluid right now with the rumors that Kennesaw State is leaving, and we know Jacksonville State's already making that jump up to FBS. So who knows who the next person into the ASUN may be, and who knows who that next main rival may be.
Yeah, that's part of the fun of college sports, isn't it? How fluid things can be. Obviously tradition's always fun, but it's always exciting to think, what could be around that corner. Transitioning to high school sports, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is as fluid as I can remember ever being on a college level. Usually I can, within a couple of years, know the schedule just because of the rotation of the conference and the league. But now making this jump to the ASUN and knowing what pieces are coming in and coming out, it's hard to even make a travel plan. I can't even tell my wife if I'll be home for Thanksgiving yet. So it's kind of it's one of those pieces that you just kind of have to ride the wave to see where it all takes us. I'll put this on record for you. I believe within 5 years there will be no more NCAA governance in football. I believe it will be each conference kind of for itself and super conferences, if you will. I think the NCAA will still keep their hand in basketball because that's their moneymaker. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if they don't wash their hands of football and there's some other governing body within the next 5 to 8 years.
Well, that is definitely an intriguing thought to potentially ponder, and very, very exciting future plan. But like I said, transferring off of college sports here for a second, your son Knox is a senior for the CHS football team. Your daughter also at CHS. I'm wondering if and you've been calling some CHS games, doing the PA there at some of their games. I'm curious if you have a favorite CHS sports moment and maybe a favorite playing sports moments.
Well, yeah. First of all, I appreciate you mentioning both. Yeah, Knox is a senior, Lily's a freshman in the band, so Friday nights mean everything to us. We don't get to leave the stands. It's football. It's halftime with the band performance, and it's football, and it's a post game. Do I have a favorite moment so far? I think the way they came out against Hendersonville, knowing the way that they'd played Hendersonville the last couple of years, knowing what the Commandos had the last couple of years, and knowing how important that game was to get a 56-36 win in just a shootout style. Yes, they scored first, and oftentimes when you see a game that means so much to you, when that other team scores first, you see a lot of heads drop. You see a lot of, second guessing or thinking too much, if you will. But I just love the way they responded. I love the way that they played, and to get that win, knowing it meant so much, to currently find themselves sitting in the second seed in Region 5 6A with a big game against Gallatin in a couple weeks, not to skip over Maplewood next week, but knowing what could be with Gallatin and to host a home game in the playoffs at Hilda J. Richardson Field would just be incredible for that group.
It absolutely would be. Knox, of course, plays wide receiver, cornerback, some special teams. He's also been doing some really good work for us at Main Street Preps. How about Lily? What does she play in the band?
Lily is in the flags. She plays French horn, so they don't march French horn. So she's out with the flags and the batons and the rifles. But once we get to concert season, she'll put a French horn in her lap and start playing there. But she's had a blast, man. For all those parents out there or fans out there that are listening that have kids that are maybe late elementary, middle school, worried about that transition to high school, it's been the absolute best for her to get her in her niche, to get her around the folks that love and have the same kind of passion she has. She's blossomed for us. So we've had a blast for her.
I gotta say, I would love to hear Brian Reeves call a band concert. I know that's completely out of the ordinary, but I think we need to talk with Five Star about getting a play-by-play going for concert season.
Little known fact, I actually played trumpet in jazz band throughout high school. Couldn't play in marching band, obviously, because of football commitments, but I did play trumpet. I won't say I played it very well, but I played and had enjoyed all my time in jazz band and the concert pieces that I had to do. It would be interesting. I could do a lot of introductions and tell you which composer and which movement, but once you get into the heart of it, man, that I'll leave that to my wife. She's the trained musical professional in the family.
There you go. So a family of sports, speaking, and music. Who knew? Well, there you go. Brian, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you joining us, and we hope we can bring you on again in the future.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Love the great work you're doing. I appreciate you tolerating Knox. He's headed out to cover some volleyball tonight. But enjoy your work and truly appreciate your coverage of high school sports. If anybody is a sports nut, even myself, it all starts at the high school level. So I appreciate what you guys do.
Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian.
Brady, let's take one more break here on the MSP North show, brought to you by Main Street Media Television and the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, where fans don't let fans drive drunk. We'll be right back with our one thing, game of the week, and player of the week.
And just like that, we're back. We're going to wrap things up here quick. We got so left on the clock. So, Blaine, why don't you start us off with one of your one things?
Yeah, let me give you two. How about that? Let's talk a little fall sports and almost wrap things up here in the Robertson County area. As we kind of mentioned tonight, Thursday, volleyball sectionals were one round away from the state tournament. East Robertson is the lone team standing remaining in the Robertson County area. After a 5-set loss against Watertown, probably the craziest volleyball game I've seen on Tuesday, the Indians travel to powerhouse Sale Creek, a team they faced 5 consecutive times in the sectional round, and they haven't beaten them once. So really tough task ahead for Coach Jamie Pennington and the Indians. If they win, they're off to Murfreesboro for the first time ever. On the girls' soccer side, we've got one team left in the Robertson County area through districts, and that's White House. District 9 AA plays for its district title tonight at Liberty Creek. White House plays, of course, the Wolves. Had to remember their mascot because they're a first year program.
Brand new.
Previous meeting, White House beating Liberty Creek 6-1, but that was before the Blue Devils really got hit with some injuries. It'll be an interesting one, of course, if Liberty Creek wins it. It's their first district title in school history, being a first-year program. White House, of course, very active and very prominent in that girls' soccer district. So I think it'll be a fun one.
Yeah, of course, I got to look at soccer and volleyball as well. We got 3 teams left in soccer here in Montgomery County, as Northwest tonight looked to defend their district title against Henry County. Last year, they won that game in triple overtime. This year, we'll see what happens. But of course, Clarksville on the other side. But tonight, it's all about Northwest. So I'm looking forward to being at that game tonight. And as well as volleyball, one team left in the area here. And it's Clarksville High. You know, it's always going to be Clarksville High, at least for a while. But like East Robertson, they're not been able to beat in a while. That's Houston down there in the Memphis area. That's a team that they've met. I don't even know how many years in a row, but they just had not been able to get that Mustang off their back. So we'll see how they do there. Looking at my final one thing, it's Northeast football, who had a bit of a biz on Thursday night. They had to forfeit a win against Northwest for self-reporting an ineligible player, but went on Friday night or rather, they forfeited that game on Friday. I had my days mixed up, but the day before beat Father Ryan 62-55. How about that score, man? Beating a private school powerhouse. So big win for Northeast there, but of course forfeiting that win against Northwest, that has to hurt.
I know our producer, Billy Derrick, is grimacing a little bit. His younger brother got the start for Father Ryan in that game. And, just a bit of a crazy one, kind of going through that roller coaster of emotions, and certainly opens the door now for Northwest and Kenwood to maybe take that 4th spot in the region 7-5A. Northeast has to do a lot to get into the playoffs now.
They do.
Last one thing for me. We're just over a month away from high school basketball kicking back up. Brady, what are we most excited for in Montgomery County?
It has to be Clarksville Academy, right? I mean, they have Matt Hopp from Brentwood Academy coming over and leading that program. Of course, Eddie Ricks, a Moorhead State commit. Some really talented players coming back like Jock Wyatt, DJ Merriweather, Tyler Moss, Trey Rideau. That's a heck of a team there.
Yeah, and in Robertson County, you can't go without mentioning the reigning Class A state champions, East Robertson. So, you've got a couple of really strong teams. Football and fall sports may have not been on the same level, at least in Robertson, but you can really look forward to high school basketball this year.
Absolutely. Blaine, tell us.
If you want to make the drive, go to East Robertson at Westmoreland to decide the Region 4-2A champion. If you don't, or you'd rather just see Brady out at Greenbrier, definitely go to that game too. You've got a couple of really solid, exciting region matchups on deck. I mean, both of them really determine a lot in the postseason picture. So I think there's only 3 games in Robertson County this week, but 2 of them are really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to make them count when you got them. My game of the week, it's going to be Austin P and Murray State. I know not quite a preps game, but we just talked to Brian Reeves about that. There are no high school games in the area this week, as every school is on fall break. It should be really fun. Of course, that's the rivalry. If you're military, that's Military Appreciation Week. So that should be a really good game. I know they love getting fans out there for the Austin P games, especially against that big rival. As far as my player of the week, it'll be Jaden Puig from Northeast. He threw 4 touchdowns in that big win against Father Ryan to help the Eagles.
We're going to go back-to-back kickers for player of the week in Robertson County. This time it's Logan Leftrick of Springfield. Part of that comes with every team losing in the county last week, but Leftrick did nail a 55-yard field goal in the first quarter against Beach. I mean, a lot of colleges haven't hit a field goal that long. Of course, it broke a 21-year school record at Springfield. The previous record was 51. Really interesting stuff there. I talked with Logan earlier in the week, and he said, I didn't even know it was that long. I kind of view these as just PATs. So great stuff from him there.
Well, that is a long PAT for him to make, but very impressive. And that's going to do it for us here today. Thank you guys for joining us as always. That's Blaine Keller, my awesome co-host. I'm Brady McAtamney. This has been the MSP North podcast brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and we'll talk to you next week.